our District 52 candidates. We'll begin with round one, where each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond, and we'll start with candidate Kipp. Colorado currently funds critical programs that help older adults remain independent in their residences and communities. Nearly $48 million was allocated this fiscal year through the Older Coloradans Act and state funding for senior services, which is distributed to the 16 area agencies on aging across the state. Funding, however, continues to lag demand as the state's older population continues to grow and the state budget is strained. What is your view on the state role for these programs and how our communities can better meet the growing need for services and supports for older adults?
Hi, thank you for the question and thank you for hosting the forum. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about issues involving seniors and older Coloradans. So I would like to say that first, the budget realities in Colorado are pretty grim. Tabor really does hamper what we are able to do here in Colorado. So keep that in mind. I also would like to say, this last year, my excellent colleague here, Representative Basenecker, was a prime sponsor of the HB 22-1035, the modernization of the Older Coloradans Act. Really, what we want is we want for people to be able to have a say in the policies that will affect them. So we don't want to do policies to people. We want to have a say in the amount in what we're able to do for people. So while we have a limited budget, we would like older Americans to be able to participate in giving us feedback, because you guys are on the ground. We're all on the ground when we're older Americans and want to be able to say, well, these things would be benefits to us. These things we don't think are as important. And that's pretty much it. We want to make sure that we use the limited resources we have in the best way possible. And to do that, we really need to make sure that we're listening to the Office on Aging, the Partnership for Age-Friendly Communities, and so forth.
Thank you. Candidate Vicino, affordable and attainable housing has become one of the most important and challenging issues for Colorado's older adults. Larimer County is currently experiencing a shortage of affordable and attainable housing in general. What might you propose and support for increasing the availability of affordable and attainable housing for older adults?
Well, thank you for the question, Jill, and thank you so much for hosting this forum tonight. The Common Sense Institute just this past May came out with a report about this very issue, and Colorado continues to add to the stock of their least affordable residences, but the more affordable residential options are shrinking, and they only count for about 23.9% of the total residential housing stock that we have in Colorado. It is a real issue and something we need to look at. I think looking at Weld County would be a really good idea for Larimer County. They have attacked this issue, I think, in a really positive way. They've applied for grants. They're involved with Catholic Charities to provide affordable housing for their residents. So I think a collaborative partnership there would be a really good idea. We need to expand Section 8 housing needs. We need more Section 8 housing available for our seniors, looking at different residential options that are affordable, like manufactured homes, manufactured parks, duplexes, triplexes, that kind of thing. And I'm really excited to examine this issue, talk to the stakeholders, and come up with innovative solutions and viable options for our seniors. One of the things I think we can absolutely do is offer tax incentives to home builders to participate in universal design. So we can design homes suited to the needs for older adults, putting in ramps, maybe put in lower cutting boards so they can sit while they're cutting as opposed to standing, kind of like the Tunnels to Towers program for injured veterans. I think that would be a good idea. And I know we've talked about it tonight, but we really do need to address the senior homestead property tax exemption. I do believe, as others have said tonight, that it should be transferable. People should not be trapped into their homes. We need to definitely raise the cap on that and really take care of our seniors. We have to do everything we can to address the affordability issues here for our seniors so they're able to preserve and protect their quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to round 2. And again, you'll have 2 minutes to respond, and we'll begin with candidate Vicino. Social isolation and loneliness are now recognized as having serious health impacts, functioning as a fertilizer for other diseases. What do you see as the most significant gaps in services, and how would you address these isolation issues?
These are really important issues. Thank you for bringing it up. And I know Sheriff Smith talked about this a little bit before, that with COVID and the isolation, things just got a lot worse for our seniors when it comes to this. And it absolutely, isolation affects everything, because if you're isolated, your mental health is in jeopardy, and then your physical health is in jeopardy. So I think one of the most significant gaps that we have is education. We need to educate the public to this issue, as well as seniors. I think a lot of people are just unaware of how serious this issue is. We can do that through public service announcements, identifying the increased need for interaction with family, interaction with our community. I love community-based care and just integrating seniors into the fabric of our society. My children grew up in a neighborhood where we had elderly, we had middle-aged, we had young, all kinds of people. And it was just wonderful for them to just go to the neighbor's house and have cookies and milk. It's wonderful for everyone. We need to educate businesses and organizations on the importance of including seniors in different activities. I loved when Commissioner Kafalis was talking about the different proclamations and recognition of seniors. I think that's really important, and educating seniors on the importance of staying active. Again, partnering with service providers that provide activities for seniors. Again, Weld County does this very well, making sure we have transportation services so that they can participate in these activities. We have to do everything we can do to ensure that our seniors are optimistic about their quality of life, and engaging activities that prevent these diseases and getting involved in the community plays a really, really big part of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Kipp. A new Colorado Commission on Aging was legislated on September 1st, consistent with the modernization of the older Colorado Act. In what ways would you work specifically with the Colorado Commission on Aging to support older residents in our state?
Thank you for that question. So yeah, that's a really great questions. What we like to do when we work with commissions that are brought in, we like to fill them with people who are experts. And honestly, I'm a legislator. I am not an expert on aging. So what we like to do is make sure that we're listening to experts so that they can advise us on the best policy going forward, right? So what I always do is I have an open door. I listen to everybody, but in particular, those groups that have broad representation and bring their work back to the Capitol, people who've taken the time to look at issues in depth and make proposals for solutions that are consistent with Colorado and Colorado values and what we can do in our state given our particular budget circumstances. So those are the types of ways I would engage with that commission.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to round 3. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to respond to the same question, and we'll begin with candidate Kipp. What is your position on the continuation of funding for or potential adjustments to the senior homestead property tax exemption, which allows many older adults to exempt 50% of the first $200,000 in actual value from their primary residence on their property taxes?
Thank you for the question. That's an important question because there are issues of equity in that homestead property tax exemption that many people have brought up. So I think most people agree that we need to continue to do something because we want people to be able to keep their homes. But we also want to make sure that there are equitable solutions going along so that people need to move out of their homes to downsize or for medical needs, that they have the opportunity to do so. So I think those are some of the way, and means testing is another thing that I think we need to consider for the homestead exemption.
Okay, thank you. Candidate Vicino, if you'd like to respond to this question, please.
No, I'm absolutely in favor of the homestead property tax exemption. And again, I would like to see it made transferable as seniors have medical needs and move them out of their homes, or they just want to downsize. I think that exemption should follow them. And I'm excited to pursue that and make sure that we're protecting our seniors. I'd also like to see that exemption be raised. Instead of the first $200,000, maybe go to $250,000 or $300,000, especially as we are suffering from inflation right now. We just need to protect our seniors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Round 4. Again, you'll have 30 seconds to respond to the same question. We'll begin with candidate Vicino. There's a need for additional geriatric medical professionals to provide services to the aging population, especially in underserved and rural areas. Would you support continuation of state funding for or potential adjustments to tuition reimbursement for these professionals?
Absolutely. And I would like to take that one step further. I really think we need to encourage more geriatric studies in college. We're graduating a lot of medical students who are not required to take geriatric studies at all, or I think they're only offered as an elective. They're not required. And as we are aging, and not just in Colorado, but as our country as a whole, we need to take that really seriously. I also recommend everybody watch The Intern with Robert De Niro, because I think that should be required viewing for all employers. And we just need to celebrate our elderly and our seniors in the workforce. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon, if you would set the time here for 3 minutes, please. We'll have time for closing statements. This is a time for each candidate to respond to questions you weren't asked, to share your thoughts. We'll leave this screen on. We'll begin with candidate Kipp.
Okay, and I'll start by answering the last question because I think you probably wanted me to answer that one. The one about
yes.
Yeah,
I apologize. Yes, please.
I'm fine to use that as part of my 3 minutes. That's perfectly fine. So here's the deal. What we do in Colorado, we are short of lots of types of professionals in Colorado, especially in the medical field. And I serve as an advisor to the Colorado Commission on Higher Education. And I really think what we need to look at doing in Colorado is making sure that we're looking at high needs, low pay positions, and that's where we should target our extra support.
Great, thank you. And Erin just informed me that we'll wait on closing remarks until the very end. So thank you, Erin, for that reminder. We'll move on now to our District 49 candidate. We have candidate Amabile with us this evening. In round 1, you'll have 2 minutes to respond to the following question. Long-term care for older adults is often funded with Medicaid dollars as the aging population becomes an increasing driver of Medicaid expenditures. What options would you support to strengthen and improve service, quality, and infrastructure for long-term older adult services and supports to better meet growing demand?
Thank you so much, and I'm sorry I was late, and I would have really loved to have listened into everybody else's answers. That would have made it easier, but I'm Judy Amabile, and I'm running for House District 49. I'm currently in the legislature, and I've been there for 2 years, and excited to be running again for House District 49. I think there are a lot of things that can be done with the Medicaid dollars. One, we have to improve reimbursements for in-home care so that people who want to stay in their home can stay in their home. We have to make it easier for loved ones to get Medicaid reimbursement if they're taking care of an elderly parent. And I think we need to expand things like ADUs and granny flats so that multi-generational families can live together, save money, and also provide care for each other. I think also we have to beef up our Medicaid workforce, so the people who are willing to accept Medicaid reimbursements. And that is something that is in the state's purview to do, and we absolutely have to do that.
Okay, thank you. You're our only candidate for your district this evening, so we'll move right on to the next question. A Colorado Health Institute analysis shows that 1 of 10 Coloradans, or approximately 590,000 Colorado residents, act as unpaid caregivers to someone age 50 or older. What options would you recommend to improve caregiver supports and mitigate both the financial and emotional impacts of caregiving on patients, caregivers, businesses, and the state?
Yeah, thank you. So I kind of already started to answer that question. I think we need to make it easier, and we need to make the reimbursements better so that somebody can get reimbursed by Medicaid to take care of a loved one. And that can be a child or a sister or a spouse or a brother. And that would go a long way towards reducing isolation and also helping people to stay in their homes and helping people to have really loving care. But the other thing we have to do is we have to make being a caregiver a good job. So benefits, vacation, health insurance, but also quality, so that you feel like at the end of the day, I worked really hard today and I helped somebody and I made their life better. Not, I'm just schlepping around from place to place and I don't know if I'm really helping anybody or not, because I think that's critical to having a really effective workforce. And I think we see that in so many different areas. It's not just with older people, it's in every aspect of our care.
Okay, thank you. For the next question, you'll have 30 seconds to respond. What is your position on the continuation of funding for or potential adjustments to the senior homestead property tax exemption, which allows many older adults to exempt 50% of the first $200,000 in actual value from their primary residence on their property taxes?
Yeah, so I'm in favor of expanding the senior homestead property tax exemption. And I think other people have mentioned that we should also make it so that you can transfer that, so people can move, they can downsize. And that has a couple of different benefits. One, it helps the senior to move into an affordable, smaller home, but it also frees up their home to be bought by a new family so that they can also benefit from that. The other thing I would suggest is that if you invite your family to come and live with you, that they would, and you maybe sell them your house or you make some arrangement, that they also could benefit from the senior homestead tax exemption.
Okay, thank you. One final question. There's a need for additional geriatric medical professionals to provide services for the aging population, especially in underserved and rural areas. Would you support continuation of state funding for or potential adjustments to tuition reimbursement for these professionals?
Yeah, I absolutely support that. And I think there's more we can do besides just tuition reimbursement. We can also do retention bonuses and signing bonuses. And we can make it easier for these professionals to get reimbursements, especially if they're providing care for Medicaid patients. So, and again, make it so that they can spend more time with their patients so that they can feel like they're really helping people and get more satisfaction from the work. And also to make sure that they get benefits and the things that they need to have a high quality of life too.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we will have all 5 state representative candidates present their closing statements. Everyone will have 2 minutes. Sharon, if you might back up one so that you can do a timer, that would be great. So if you'll please disregard the question, this is your opportunity to share your closing statements. And we will begin with candidate Basenecker.
And my apologies, Jill. I believe that both of the candidates for House District 53 already gave our closing statements.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for the reminder. We are volunteers in this position, so thank you. So we'll move on to candidate Kipp.
Thank you again for hosting this forum tonight. We obviously appreciate the opportunity. You know, one of the things I always tell everybody is that in my job as a legislator, I am about a mile wide and about an inch deep. I get a little deeper here and there as I learn more stuff. And what I think part of my value add is knowing who to listen to and knowing who the experts are so that we bring good policy forward. So in that vein, I really appreciate hearing from the experts, especially when we get to areas that are not as much in my wheelhouse. I have got a lot of background in other areas, but not as much as this one. So I invite you guys to reach out anytime. I've got a good record in the House during my past 4 years of taking a good stand on issues that affect positively older Americans. I think it was brought up earlier, for instance, that we want to make sure that our seniors are not being abused. And I would go further and make sure that our Attorney General is able to follow through and stop the attacks, really, where people are going after our seniors. I would like to support opportunities for seniors to step up and become active in our community. We don't want people just aging and wasting away in their houses. We want to value all of the experience they bring. We can bring seniors back into the workforce if they so choose by giving them the flexibility and valuing the experience and expertise that they bring with them. There are a lot of things that we can do to support seniors in our community. I think telehealth and Zoom and broadband are all things that we can benefit our seniors, and also the issues that we've worked on to bring down prescription drug prices. And well, anyway, don't hesitate to reach out. My time's about up, www.cathykipp.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Vicino, if you'd like to give your closing remarks.
Well, thank you, Jill, and thank you, everyone. Thank you to the Partnership for Age-Friendly Communities and the Larimer County Office on Aging Advisory Council for hosting this evening. I lost my father last year, and I was so appreciative of the services that were available to him at his end of life that kept him in his home. So I really appreciate the focus on this. One thing that I did want to address this evening that I wasn't able to address is the Weld County Area Agency on Aging. They call it WELD AAA. And I think they're doing an outstanding job when it comes to care of their seniors and community-based care that respond to the needs of families and caregivers in the communities they serve through advocacy, funding, direct services, planning, education, chore programs, case management, all of it. They really do an outstanding job. So I would encourage Larimer County to collaborate with them in their efforts to improve the quality of life of our senior population. I am concerned greatly with affordability issues that are plaguing our seniors here in Colorado. We have so many taxes and so many fees that have been passed over the last few years, and these create a huge burden for our seniors living on fixed incomes. My neighbor just around the corner talks to me about this all the time and how she's had to readjust her grocery bill and her travel because of inflation and rising taxes and fees. So that's really important. As it's been said, Social Security lags behind current needs. So we've got to do something to help with the affordability issues here in Colorado. Keeping people in their communities is critical. It adds to quality of life. It enriches everyone in the community. So I'm really excited about that. And public safety, making sure that we keep our seniors safe, free from scams and elderly abuse. I just really want to make sure that our seniors are able to enjoy a wonderful, affordable quality of life in their golden years. And I appreciate this forum so much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Candidate Amabile, I hope I'm saying your name correctly this time.
No,
you
that's
have 2
great.
minutes.
I answered anything, so thank you.
Well, I apologize the first time I didn't get it right, but you have 2 minutes to make your closing statements.
Okay, well, thank you so much for inviting me to participate, and thank you for having this forum. I think everybody has talked a lot about the details of this policy and that policy, but I feel like we are going to have to make a huge cultural shift, and we are going to have to think about older people in our community in an entirely different way. And I think we need to be looking at other cultures, because in other cultures, they value wisdom, they value experience, they value knowledge. And in our culture, we value youth, we value strength, And we have to make a shift. And the way that we treat our senior citizens is, especially those who don't have a lot of money, is really, it's a stain on our society. It really is. I hear from my sheriff that he routinely has people who have dementia, older Americans, who are in jail for having committed petty crimes, and they have nowhere to send them. They have nobody to take care of them, and they're being warehoused in jail. And we have people being assaulted by the police. We have people living who are on the streets, who are homeless, who have spent their lives working, and maybe they raised a family, maybe they didn't. We have veterans who have served our country, and we have not done what we need to do collectively to take care of these people who have given so much to our country. So I think we need a whole new way of thinking about these things. And yes, at the legislature, we do policy brick by brick, and I understand that, but we have to have a long-term vision of saying, how do we honor older Americans, and how do we make sure that we respect and take care of them in the way that they took care of us? Thank you.
Thank you. And to every candidate this evening, we're grateful for the time you've given to be here and to give your thoughts and your beliefs. And I believe we are at the time where Erin will wrap us up this evening.
Thank you, Jill. Well, good evening. My name is Erin Alt, and I have the pleasure of holding the title of Program Manager for the Larimer County Office on Aging. Our team includes the Aging and Disability Resource Center, or the ADRC for short, the wonderful ombudsman team, and some very dedicated and professional administrative staff. Our mission at the Office on Aging is to assist individuals living in Larimer County not only to live, but truly thrive in their homes and their communities. The knowledgeable staff assists with information and assistance, options counseling, referrals to programs and services with resources to navigate options for adults over 60 or those living with disabilities.